Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and happy to talk about new members with you here at the Findlay Hancock County Chamber of Commerce. I'm Doug Jenkins, joined by Eddie Steele of WJOE, Findlay's home for rock and roll, an online streaming radio station. Eddie, thanks for joining us, man.
Hey, you're more than welcome. And actually, it's WJOE. Some people
I'm sorry.
oh, that's quite all right. And some people say, I got buddies that reach me and like, dude, I'm listening to the Joe. I'm like, dude, it's not the Joe.
Stop calling it. So WJOE. Let's get into it. You and I just about were late to doing this because we were talking about our broadcasting days prior to what we're doing now. This is a really cool project, how this got started. Let's get into the history of it. How did you get going on this?
Well, it kind of began out of COVID. A lot of things were birthed out of COVID. I think looking back, I never expected it to turn into this. It has turned into a second full-time job. But when COVID happened, I had some extra time on my hands, and I thought, you know what? I'm an avid music collector. I have the best wife in the world. She puts up with this ridiculous expenditure of CDs all my life. And then I'm a big fan of audio equipment and stuff. And I come from radio. So I thought, man, I'm bored. And I have some buddies still in radio. And one of my buddies has his own production company. And they do a lot of work globally, actually. And I said, hey, Andy, would you run, if I typed them up, would you cut these spots? I'm thinking, like, I got a music server. I could just for fun turn in my own station in my own house. And he's like, oh, yeah, sure. And so it just started like that. And that was years and years ago. And when I decided, then this became more and more of a real thing. And we went commercial. And our listenership started as just friends saying, hey, Eddie's got this thing going. You should tune in. Here's the URL link. We weren't even on any platforms 3-4 years ago. And then it kind of grew and grew and grew. Well, all the time I'm having Andy and Long Train Productions, is this company, they were continuing to do spots. And I was just getting a kick out of it for fun. I'd send stuff. And now here we are. It's been so long now. I bet we have hundreds of different sweepers. And so when we decided this is really kind of turning into something, could we make this a commercial enterprise? We already had the sweepers. My wife is my morning show partner. She comes from broadcast as well. And so we said, let's do this again for fun. And now it's kind of snowballed, and we went commercial back in February, and now it's a full-fledged station. I never planned for it to be this, but it's with a lot of things like this. I'm wearing the hat, for the graphics, and I'm doing everything. Like trying to change the toilet paper rolls and just trying to make sure, we have friends that are from radio that are doing characters for us for the show and different like slots here and there. And we're paying them in pizza, whatever we can. So it's just been crazy, but it's been so much fun.
It's actually an accepted form of payment for radio personalities, pizza, as I recall. Let's talk about when people tune in. What are they going to hear?
Well, that's why I decided to do this, was because, from a music lover's perspective, radio has always pigeonholed itself. And I've always felt like our approach has always been, I own 8,000 plus albums. And I said, if we're going to do this, it has to be different. Otherwise, why?
Right.
There's just tons of stations out there. And, if you're going to just be like corporate radio or the homogenized cookie cutter way, then don't bother. I'll just keep it the way it is. So what we've done is I really believe this could be one of the biggest libraries in radio in the US. And we have, over 50,000 tracks in rotation. We're playing every hit, every minor rock hit. And it's the whole genre of rock. And that's where the love comes in of, can Hall & Oates segue into Maiden? Well, it can if you do it at certain times. So there was a lot of programming that went into this to make sure it works. That, when we first started, it literally was, how about Black Sabbath and the Carpenters? And it was a little bizarre. So we stopped that and we streamlined it a little bit. But that is the difference. It's every major and minor rock hit, and then a heavy, heavy lean on album tracks. And the reason we did that was, growing up, as kids, we always would get albums, whether it's CDs or 8-tracks or whatever, and you would have those conversations with your friends, and you would probably buy the record for the single that was on the radio. But what really made you love the record was it any good or not, were the album tracks. And so you're on the phone with your friends saying, well, what about cut 5 or whatever? And the artists intended it that way. They intended the hits to live side by side with the deep tracks, but radio never embraced that. You know, they wanted to keep it to 3 minutes and 30 seconds because of advertisers and whatnot. And we do have advertisers and we're commercial, and I get that. But the music has to come first, or we're not going to do it. So before I would add 4 or 5 breaks of spots, I'm going to just up the rate, you know what I mean, and just
Right.
keep the amount of advertisers lower, because the listener and the music has to come first. And you will hear 20-minute tracks, you're going to hear 2-minute tracks, you're going to hear Frank Zappa, you're going to hear Kiss, you're going to hear Sabbath, and you're going to hear their entire catalogs, which is something that, you know, traditional radio hasn't done. It's kind of like the closest thing I can equate to it, if listeners are familiar with Sirius XM, is probably Deep Tracks meeting Ozzy's Boneyard, playing Jackson Brown and playing, you know, hard rock acts, but then going way, way deeper, several fathoms deeper, if you will, that you're just not going to hear this stuff anywhere else.
And then not only that, but also the radio personalities that you're accustomed to. And I mean, that's really makes radio a format
Yes.
that people fall in love with, is they just the person you hear on the air or over the stream,
Right.
as the case may be, those are the people that you start to connect with. They start to feel like your family that you wake up to, or you're listening to on the way to work or school, which,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about how people can do that too. But
Yeah.
you also have that element too. It's not just random tracks from
No.
your playlist. You've got the whole everything going on here.
Yeah, we've got a you know, my wife and I, like I said, we do the quote unquote morning show, and we both come from broadcasting. And what's different is, if you go on to some of our platforms, what makes us very unique, I'm not saying we're the only ones doing this part of it, but there's very few that do. When people decide, hey, I want to do my own radio station venture, it's typically like, you know, America's rock station, whatever. And we have listeners globally. We have people checking in from Finley to Finland, all over the place. But our difference is we want to connect with our community first. So that's why our tagline is Finley's home for rock and roll. Our goal is to be involved with our own community. If you're listening to our morning show and you're listening out of Canada, you know, there might be segments where you're like, I don't even know what these guys are talking about. I don't know what's at the corner of Maine and Trenton. But you know, that's what's different, because most people, you know, do it that way from a global standpoint. We'll serve it globally, we'll serve it, you know, from a state and national perspective, but the local element is first and foremost, and that comes with our help we have as well. We have business leaders that, you know, they're in bands, they are past radio people, and they're some of the greatest characters on our station. There's a very prominent person. He's one of my best friends, and he runs a business here in Findlay, and he's our Ragin' Cajun traffic reporter, and he does traffic in broken English, and it's wonderful, and people love it. He's one of our most searched thing on our website. So it's just that kind of community and the connection to make the whole thing feel very Findlay, feel very Northwestern Ohio.
It's all really cool. Let's talk about how people can access it. Certainly, there's the website, WJOErocks.com, but you can get it on a variety of different platforms as well.
Yeah, we're on just about every major platform that streams radio, including Live 365. That's my favorite. That's our main partner, because that displays the album cover, the title information, the artist information, and I love that about them. We're also on TuneIn. We're on Radio Line. We're on Alexa. Just enable your Alexa skill for WJOE, and it will happen that way. And then we're also on every smart TV, Roku, arable products, such as, like, if you have a receiver, Yamaha, you know, just every kind of a Bluetooth enabled arable product that would stream radio, you're probably going to find us. I have a Portuguese based music server in my home system, and we're on there, and I don't even know how that happens, but we're there. So it's out there, and I would encourage people to check it out. It's free. The apps for all these things are free. You just go to your app store, download the Live 365 app, put it on your phone, connect your Bluetooth to your car. Voila, you're good to go. And that's one of the advantages. You can go coast to coast, and it's crystal clear quality, and you know, you don't have that limitation of traditional radio involved.
Well, I couldn't have a rock radio guy on without talking music, at the very least, and just talking favorites. So what is your Mount Rushmore of bands or artists? Top 4 in no particular order.
Wow, top 4.
Top 4. That's a tough one.
That is hard. You know, I'm going to probably say Zeppelin. I'll say Alice Cooper. I'm going to say 70s Kiss. That, you know, in 1978, my mom made a big mistake and bought me Kiss Double Platinum for Christmas. And I saw Kiss Meets the Phantom that Halloween, and it was over. That was it. You know, then I wanted records for every event. So I would say Sabbath, or Zeppelin, Alice Cooper, Kiss, And well, I would probably say Jethro Tull. I'm a huge Jethro Tull guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So
All right. I didn't see that coming, but that's
yeah,
the
I
fun
know.
thing about the question is that can go a bunch of different ways. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll hear all four artists and
Oh,
hundreds upon hundreds more on
independent lifestyle.
WJOE.
Yes.
Well, very good. Well, again, Eddie, if people are interested in learning a little bit more about your programming, maybe they want to do some advertising with you, things like that. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way would probably be just to go to our website, WJOErocks.com. There's a contact us section there. We just celebrated our third anniversary this past weekend. And as of today, we're up this part. This has been a lot of work and we haven't announced it yet officially, but I guess I'll do it on your show here.
All right, we'll take it.
Yeah, we just opened up our own swag shop. We had a lot of people saying, "Hey, I want to buy a shirt. Where can I get it?" And I was like, "I'm not set up yet for that, so I'll send you one for free, but don't tell anybody." So, so now we actually have a full-fledged merchandise shop. We call the Flock Shop. You'll see it behind us there, but we have a bird as like an owl as a mascot. So we call it the Flock Shop, and there's just all kinds of T-shirts and stuff there where you can check out. But to reach us and contact us, we get a lot of great email through our website, and there's a contact form, and we'll respond back via email or give you a call.
Very good. Well, Eddie, we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate you being a Chamber of Commerce member and appreciate the hours upon hours of rock music that you provide.
Thank you, man.
All right. And again, you can check that out at WJOErocks.com. You can also learn more about WJOE in the Chamber online directory. So be sure to do that. For Eddie, I'm Doug. Have a great afternoon, everybody.